I would have never recommend for someone that's doing about $1 million a year to just hire a fractional CMO out of the gate, because you have to have a certain amount of money to hire the fractional CMO, and then a certain amount of money to actually implement whatever that fractional CMO needs you to implement. And usually when you're around that $1 million range, it's very, very tight. And so you need to be thinking about like when to hire. And usually what I recommend is after 3 million, like that's kind of seems like the floor. It's like after that floor, you found product market fit. You likely have 1, maybe 2 marketing channels that are working pretty effectively. And now you need to bring someone in to understand, okay, how do we build out a proper marketing strategy so that we can scale to that next point, right?
So second stage companies, they're scaling up operations, investing in marketing, building teams, all of the things. And I think for a lot of the people listening, there's a point where you need support for marketing in your team, but you don't really need a full-time head of marketing or CMO. And I think this is a really good place for a great fit for a fractional CMO to fill that gap. And so today we're actually going to talk with Behdad Jamshidi, founder of CJAM Marketing Matchmaker, who helps companies find vetted fractional CMOs and agencies. And we're going to talk about what to look for in a fractional CMO, where to find them, and which one is the best stage for or best fit for your stage of growth. So welcome to the show, Behdad.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
I think this is interesting because before meeting you, I didn't know that there was actually someone out there that did this, so tell us about you and what you do.
Yeah, thanks. The 1-minute backstory is I actually used to be an engineer. So it's super random that I got into marketing. But on the engineering front, I used to do a lot of business consulting for mid-sized businesses, anywhere from about 50 to 1,000 type employee range, understanding kind of like what's going on from a C-level perspective, and then building out roadmaps of like, how do you get from A to B to C within the company around technology. And so that's where a lot of like my business consulting, sales, leadership, and technology experience came from. But on the marketing side, I started building out websites, Google Ads, SEO about 6 years ago, and very quickly didn't like doing 80-hour websites on the weekend.
Oh my gosh.
So I thought, all right, how about I stop doing that and find some different marketing partners to work with, whether they were agencies initially, and match them with businesses, and realize very quickly there's always a gap between marketing agencies understanding business and businesses understanding marketing. And at the time, I didn't understand a fractional CMO or CMO existed 6 years ago. And so I set out to become this matchmaking service where I understand what businesses need and then match them with the right marketing partners. And I've talked to 943 over the last 6 years. And I bring that all down to a vetted list of about 10% of that audience.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's cool to see your path in your career. I know a lot of people in marketing have had various paths, to get to their discipline. A lot of people are working on creative things. They realize they want to be on more of the data side or vice versa, or, there's lots of places to sort of find your way. And if you are the type that really enjoys connecting in relationships and, seeing the value on both sides, and you have the marketing background, that makes perfect sense. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it. And just I find connecting, it just gives me so much energy. So I love doing it.
So, okay. Let's jump into this conversation about fractional CMOs. I think you have a lot of value to bring here, and we've got some notes to walk through here on, who is a fractional CMO? Where do they exist? Like, where do they plug into companies, and where do they find, like, where can companies find the most value from them? So let's start with, what is a fractional CMO?
Yeah, so a fractional CMO is basically a CMO that used to be working full time, but now you get them for a fraction of the time, right? A lot of businesses can't afford a full-time CMO, and a lot of them don't have enough work for a full-time CMO. And so you can actually get a fractional CMO for a day of their time out of the week. And therefore you get that strategic oversight in your business that you wouldn't get from like a marketing director or a junior level marketing person to kind of help a business move forward. And so that's typically what a fractional CMO is used for.
Okay. Now, I would assume that there's lots of applications for different types of fractional CMOs with different types of businesses. Let's flesh that out.
Yeah. So when it comes to fractional CMOs, they have different skill sets, and there's different industries that they know how to do. There's different marketing strategies and tactics that they know how to do. So when you're coming in to hire a fractional CMO, you want to get someone that understands your industry first off, right? Like if you're in B2B or if you're in B2C, like all these things make a difference in terms of who you're going to be end up hiring. And then the skill sets also differ, as we talked about this a little while ago. Is like if you're hiring for a fractional CMO that understands how to do brand messaging, brand strategy, helping them build out the website. Like the go-to-market strategy is different than hiring someone that actually knows how to like run the execution aspect of marketing. So, taking everything that you did from that first phase and then actually implementing in the second phase. And so there's different fractional CMOs, as I mentioned, through industries, through what stages you are, what kind of projects you're doing. And a lot of businesses don't think about that when they're about to hire that executive.
Yeah, that's a huge point. That's a great starting point, because you have to understand where you need help first, because there are a lot of businesses, B2B, I'd say, primarily, that aren't really looking for brand building right out of the gate. They're looking for more support for sales, and looking at data, feedback from the customers, that kind of thing. Whereas on the B2C side, and I'm just sort of, painting broad brushes here, you're going to want to look at more awareness type of marketing, which is going to be branding and more nurture. So yeah, I think that's a huge place to start, because if you get talking to somebody who's talking about data, a lot of people, leaders that may be hiring these folks may not know the lingo. They may not know how to guide that person. So, honestly, a lot of what we're going to be talking about here is a great roadmap for leaders if they're actively looking for hiring a fractional CMO. So that's like checkbox one. That's great.
Yeah. 100%. And I think another thing that's important to understand, like as a business, is when to hire one. A lot of businesses try to do it too early. I was just literally talking with a customer 2 or 3 days ago, and they were like, well, someone recommended me to hire a fractional CMO, but they were just like doing about $1 million a year. And I was like, I would have never recommend for someone that's doing about $1 million a year to just hire a fractional CMO out of the gate, because you have to have a certain amount of money to hire the fractional CMO, and then a certain amount of money to actually implement whatever that fractional CMO needs you to implement. And usually when you're around that $1 million range, it's very, very tight. And so you need to be thinking about like when to hire. And usually what I recommend is after 3 million, like that's kind of seems like the floor. It's like after that floor, you found product market fit. You likely have 1, maybe 2 marketing channels that are working pretty effectively. And now you need to bring someone in to understand, okay, how do we build out a proper marketing strategy so that we can scale to that next point, right? Getting from 3 million to 10 million is another big jump. And then there's another big jump after 10. So it's really important to understand like when the time to bring in a fractional CMO is within that range.
I like that. So leading up to that, 0 to 1 million is very largely on the founders and the core team. And then, 1 to 3 million, you're getting traction in the market. And I think you're probably, you tell me, maybe hiring some freelancers, you're hiring maybe a full-time marketing manager, or someone who can just kind of keep the plates spinning to support sales or to put out ads, those kind of things. But it's very kind of discipline based. It's Facebook ads, or it's the things that you are going to market with. And then post the 3 million mark, and these are round numbers, but post that mark, you're going to be looking at, okay, now we really need to build a bigger team that's going to be led by someone. And really past the 3 million mark is where you get to fully building a team and having some, it's like, I don't know, from 3 million to 5 million maybe is that place where a fractional CMO can really fill that gap.
Yeah. Like, I mean, 3 million to 10, I actually like I've placed fractional CMOs in a $60 million company, right?
Okay.
Like, it sometimes matters on the maturity of the business as well, right? Like if you're like a custom home builder, you're building $1 million homes, so you can make a $60 million company pretty well, but your marketing might not be at the level that it needs to be at to scale. So it really just comes down to sometimes even the maturity of the marketing, of the business that the fractional CMO is working with. But it becomes fun, right? Like once you pass that like 3 to 5 kind of million, you actually have some money to dedicate to marketing and actually like start building that brand, start building those different flywheels that help you scale, right? And you're like seen everywhere, and people go like, wow, this company's everywhere. Like this, why are they there? And then all of a sudden they're thinking the next time they're about to make a purchase or need a certain service, that's who they go to, because they built that trust and that through that marketing strategy with the fractional CMO and your other internal resources.
That's all very helpful. I'm sure that if you're a certain type of company, you would probably want to hire, again, back to size, you probably want to hire a fractional CMO that's used to working at that size, right?
Yeah. So the way that I think about that is that you kind of have like vertical CMOs, right? And so if you're a company that's trying to grow, like let's say you're still sub $10 million and you're trying to grow, you're not going to go hire a fractional CMO that worked at like Fortune 500 companies or Fortune 100
Right.
companies. That type of fractional CMO is very, very different. When you're working at those big companies, you're basically waiting for things to come to you. So you're very reactive. So, you're sitting there, emails come in, you need to manage and make sure that you're filtering the right things through that company. But then you have CMOs that actually know how to build from the ground up. I know CMOs that work with startups, right? Going from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
I know CMOs that are really good in that like $3 to $10 million range. And like they have specialties because they actually are proactive at that point. They actually have to make things move and go. And so they might have some chops of like, maybe they have like a bit of copywriting experience or whatever it is, but they also know how to build that team around them to help them grow. And typically it's like a team of contractors, freelancers, and agency resources with potentially like a marketing director on the inside of the company.
Yeah.
And so you need to be thinking about this, that when you're hiring a fractional CMOs, the biggest mistake I see businesses make, they get really excited about the logos and they miss the fact that that's just not the right CMO for you at that time.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. What about personality? I would think that would have the big piece to how do you flesh out that on the front end?
Yeah. So personalities is just, I kind of have personally, I have like an intuition at this point, given how many people I've spoken to on the business side, and how many people I've spoken to on the agency and fractional CMO side. So you get a bit of sense of like, oh, this personality would work well with this personality just through having those conversations.
Right.
And that's honestly one of the reasons why my business is so hard to scale, because I'm the middle of it all. I have to like connect it all, right?
You're the broker.
The personality matters. Exactly. The broker. Yeah. So when it comes to personalities, you have to kind of understand where you come from. And on that front is like, if you're a business owner that's really detail oriented and you need someone that can think more higher picture marketing stuff, then you do that. But if you have someone that is, for example, as a business owner, you're not as detail oriented and you want someone to basically push or push against the way that you think, you would hire a personality for that. So you need to kind of understand like who you are as a leader, and then find out a partner that isn't the same, is different enough that they will push back on you and find those gaps that you might miss yourself.
Okay. So what about checking their work, right? Looking at the resume, what are the things that a leader should be looking for when they're hiring a fractional CMO that are markers for, hey, they know what they're doing. Assume they're data people, we're data people, right? Brand people, we're brand people. But how do they look into the background, and apart from what they see on LinkedIn, and see that, hey, this person could actually help us?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things right now, there's so many fractional CMOs in the market, and there's a lot of people that aren't truly fractional CMOs. And so one of the things that I kind of would do when you're vetting fractional CMOs is asking for, hey, if you've worked with any other customers, and typically they should have a list of at least 5 to 10 customers that they've worked with.
Okay.
Right. A lot will just say like, oh yeah, I have one, maybe one's about to sign. That's a sign that it's a very new fractional CMO. 2, you want to look to see if they have documents, like different templates that they use when they're working with different customers. Obviously those templates can be shifted, but you want to see that they've actually have those types of things set up, because it tells you they've done this before and they've done it enough times that it warrants for them to have different templates and different KPI sheets and different like systems to basically run their customers through. Those are some like 2 of the biggest things that I would look at. And then at the end, make sure you reference check, like just always reference check, talk to at least 2 or 3 different people that have worked with the fractional CMO, ask questions around their behavior, how they communicate, what kind of results they were able to drive, why they let them go, like why are they not working with them potentially.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Like find out these things, and it'll give you more insight so that you go in with the right expectations when you're hiring this fractional CMO, because yes, they'll know marketing. Yes, they'll be able to drive stuff forward, but ultimately like not every fractional CMO is going to be able to drive results in the first 2-3 months, right? It takes time. Marketing takes time. And so you need to be mentally ready for that, because you're going to be likely working with this partner more long-term, the more and more stuff you actually delegate to them.
Yeah. So how do you ask, if you're interviewing someone, how do you ask them for, obviously it's like, who have you worked for, and tell us some examples, the case studies, those kind of things. But looking deeper at the actual KPI sheets or, reporting that look back to the systematic part of it. How do you get to that naturally?
Like in an interview process?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, when you're going through an interview process, I think at the beginning is just trying to get the personality fit. If you feel like, oh, we align, we jive, or having good communication, good talking, cool. Right. The second step that I kind of take, I have like each individual marketing channel listed out in my interview guide, and I go, hey, like, what would you rank yourself from 1 to 5 out of this and out of this and out of this, like a website, branding, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And as
Okay.
they're ranking themselves, I'm kind of getting a sense of like, okay, where they think they're strong at, where they don't
Yeah.
think they're strong at. And then if someone says they're like a 5 at something, I'll just be like, I'll just throw something in around like websites. It's like, well, which platforms have you worked with? Have you done like WordPress, Shopify? Have you done BigCommerce? Have you done this type of stuff? And see if they'll be more honest around that kind of stuff. And like, oh, I'm actually only a 5 in like these types of areas.
Yeah.
Right. So just getting some of those more insights as you go through it and seeing where they find the most strength. If I see a fractional CMO say they're good at absolutely everything, that's a problem. Right. There's no way someone's.
I was just about to say that. Yeah. Someone's going to say, oh, we're good at everything.
Yeah. And that's just like a big red flag for me. And then the other aspect of it becomes like, once you have the personality fit, once you look at those different areas that they think they're strong in, now you look at their work. And so you ask for those KPI sheets. You ask for, hey, like when you're doing like a brand strategy, which you told me to do, what do you take your customers through? What does that process look like? And show me how you run through that and what's the end result. Like they should be able to share all of these different types of things, obviously sometimes under NDA because they've worked with different customers and there might be some confidentiality things there, but
yeah,
you have to look at those things before you hire.
Yeah. Okay. So, I've just kind of barely peeked into this world. I mean, I've seen people on LinkedIn. I have some conversations with them and companies that have hired them or thought about it. So I have a little bit of knowledge, but what I've seen that I thought was interesting is companies that are trying to get as much bang for their buck as possible. Is the best way for me to probably say it, but they're looking to hire someone who they really should hire a full-time CMO. But that's the way I think about it. But they're trying to get someone who is not only strategic, but is also has their hands in the execution day to day. Now, if that's 1 day a week or 5 days a week, obviously, the more days a week, you might as well have a full-time person. What's your kind of take on that? Or should companies be looking for this to fill a certain gap in their strategy or their go-to-market type of plan, or should this person be kind of wearing multiple hats under that role?
Yeah, so I would never hire a fractional CMO to do multiple hats, like execution aspect. Like that's not the way to use it.
Okay, that's helpful. Yeah.
Right, because you're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars an hour on this resource.
Yeah.
Right. Fractional CMOs are not cheap. They can be anywhere from the lower end. If someone's new, they'll probably charge like $175, $200 an hour. Right. And then it go up to like $500 an hour. So if you're having them do copywriting work for you, that's a very expensive copywriter.
Yeah.
What you want to be using fractional CMOs for is basically come up with a strategy, manage the team, find you the resources, make sure people are doing the right things.
Yeah.
And usually within like 6 to 9 months, you want to hire a marketing director underneath the fractional CMO to do a lot of that management stuff too. Right. Like you'll pull them more and more into strategy and you might even need less of their time.
Yeah.
So that's typically how I think about it, is let them hire the people, the resources that are frankly cheaper to run the different aspects. So if you're going to be doing Google ads or Facebook ads or SEO, get them to hire the agencies to do that. Because now you have the knowledge on the inside to be able to vet those guys better to make sure you have solid partners. That's the other thing people don't think about is like fractional CMOs will typically come with their own networks, right? People they've used before. So if you have someone seasoned, they're like, yep, I've used this guy for Google ads for like 4 other companies. I know they're good. Yeah. That's why my service works, is because I have people that I've used with these different providers, and I can be like, I know this guy's good in this space because I've used them before. Yeah. Right. So that's another value fractional CMOs bring.
That's great. That's what I anticipated hearing. And I'm glad I heard that, because what I've seen is companies really trying to do both things. And it's almost like you got to pick one, and they need to be fulfilling kind of one specific thing. When it gets to cost, or how much to spend on a fractional CMO, is there one way that they should look at this person coming into their team and it being part of their overhead, or should they be looking at this as a value ROI type of purchase, or relationship? Is it an hourly rate that they're looking for a proposal, or are there other ways to charge? How do you frame out cost?
There's so many different ways, and it really depends on the business. But if you're bringing a fractional CMO in, typically on average, it's going to cost you $8 to $10 a month, right? But fractional CMO services can range anywhere from $5 to $15 grand, and there's some that are even higher. there's some businesses that have multiple fractional CMOs underneath one organization. And so therefore there's more margin, more overhead. And so those retainers can go into the $20,000 range. So that's just like some of the concepts of thinking in terms of the money aspect. I think initially when you're bringing a fractional CMO in, you have to think of it like you're bringing in an employee, not in terms of ROI. The ROI comes down the road as you get more marketing initiatives running, you're getting the machine working. Like ultimately you're looking like, is this marketing operation running better now that they're here? And are we doing more things that are actually potentially going to produce great results, right? Like SEO will take time. You can run Google and Facebook ads and hopefully get a return or some sort of insights in the first 3, 4, 5 months.
Yeah.
But are they doing the right things, right? You'll get a good sense of that. So you're bringing them so that as a founder or as a CEO, you can offload all that marketing mindset onto someone and making it their problem. So you can focus on the other aspects of your business. And ultimately for you to scale as a business, if you want to start getting past the $10 million mark and growing, you have to outsource HR, operations, marketing, all that stuff so that you can focus on strategy in the business. And that's what a fractional CMO does.
Yeah. 100%. Okay. Where would they go to look for one? I mean, it's kind of a new concept for a lot of people. So is this an Indeed kind of thing or a LinkedIn thing?
Oh man. You can
I know you,
LinkedIn,
obviously you're a great resource, right?
Yeah, of course. Like LinkedIn and Indeed and those areas, you can try looking for those fractional CMOs, but you're going to go through a lot of fluff and not great times.
A lot of riffraff. Yeah.
There are different like fractional CMO like agencies and groups that you probably won't be able to get into as a business, but other people might have hooks into them, like myself, for example, or other fractional CMOs, if you can find one. Those are kind of like the only ways. There's no real great way to find them unless you know someone who knows someone.
Yeah.
And the more well-connected someone is, the better it is to find them.
Yeah.
And you can also do like LinkedIn searches and things like that and just start like outreaching and reaching to someone and have someone on your HR team do that. Right.
Yeah. How often do you see companies stealing away CMOs to become fractional CMOs? I know that kind of sounds odd because they're going from a full-time, but I think that people's work and roles in life are shifting so much today that people are looking to pull back from a full-time position. They might go into a part-time. Is that where, a company's putting out almost like a job position and saying, we're looking for a fractional CMO, and then people who are full-time might find it? Or have you ever seen that?
So I haven't seen a ton of that, but what I do see is like there are full-time CMOs that will also do some fractional work.
Okay.
Right. And then over a course of time, they go like, I actually like the fractional work more. And so they just kind of go that way.
Right.
There was a lot of like stuff happening we had like a micro recession, right? Like in the last 2 years, like everyone felt it. They say there wasn't happening, but it was happening.
It was there. Yeah.
So a lot of businesses let go of their CMO resources, right? So this whole market got influxed with a bunch of people who were like, you know what, like now that I have severance, maybe in the next 8 to 12 months, I can start a fractional CMO business and try it out. So you've got a lot of that as well. And so that's kind of how I think like the fractional CMO world worked. The coolest part is when you find those fractional CMOs that have been doing it for 5, 6, 7+ years before it became a thing. Those are the people that, like are legitly into it and they've done it and they built systems and they've worked with different customers. Those are the types of fractional CMOs you want to find and work with versus the ones that are just getting into it, because when you just get into it, there's so much to learn from the ground up. Right? Like when you're building a marketing thing from the ground up, most people get into a role as a CMO when the marketing is already running. And even if they were doing it initially, if they're a CMO for 2, 3, 4 years, they're not executing at the bottom level anymore. So they don't know how the algorithms have changed, how the marketing channels have changed, how people are shifting constantly. So that's just some of my kind of like thinking around that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think that there's a lot of merit in a fractional CMO. The way I see it is their feet are still on the ground because they have to be more entrepreneurial. They have to be more nimble, just the nature of how they're keeping work. So they have to be more scrappy in their work. And, they might have, 3 different, they have 3 to, let's say 3 or 4 or 5 clients. They might have 3 different types of clients. So honestly, I think that brings a world of value to each one because they can bounce from one to another and adopt, or share kind of concepts and strategies that benefit one another.
Yeah, you said that so well. I mean, just being able to learn from different businesses and what worked and what didn't work, and that learning is so valuable, especially as things shift so fast right now.
It is. Yep. 100%. Well, this has been a great conversation. Thanks for coming on and chatting about this. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
Yeah, I mean, the best place to find me is www.cjammarketing.com. And you can reach out to me from there, or just finding me on my LinkedIn, Behdad
Yeah,
Jamshidi. And that's the best way to connect with me.
love it. This is awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. And we definitely push people your way. I think the service you're offering is super valuable. I see that all of these sort of executive level roles are fracturing, and it's becoming more of a normal thing. So to have someone like you that is is a true resource at having all these relationships with both sides, and then we didn't even get to the agency side. I mean, that side almost maybe we should have back on for another episode. But agency side, people they already know that there's a value to have a trusted partner there. So yeah, I mean, I think people are listening it's gonna be very obvious they need to reach out.
No, I appreciate that. And I hope it was valuable, and I hope it helps people find the right resources for themselves.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks again.
Thank you.